You can hear it in the way people talk about money. Too loud, too fast, like they're trying to convince the room they matter before the room decides otherwise. A man buys a watch that costs more than his father made in a year, then somehow finds a way to angle his wrist into every conversation. A woman posts a photo from business class with the caption, "Blessed," but spends the entire flight refreshing notifications from strangers she'll never meet. And meanwhile, somewhere across town, there's a man eating eggs at the same diner he's visited for 30 years. Nobody notices him, nobody envies him, nobody asks him for anything. He owns half the buildings on the street. That's the strange thing about real wealth. When it becomes truly dangerous, it goes quiet. I didn't understand that when I was younger. I thought success was supposed to echo. I thought money announced itself naturally. Big house, big personality, big entrance. But after watching people chase wealth for decades and watching many of them lose it the second they touched it, I started noticing a pattern so consistent it became impossible to ignore. The people with the least usually made the most noise, and the people with the most, they moved like submarines, silent, calculated, hard to read. There's a reason for that nobody explains to you when you're young. The world changes the moment it senses you have something worth taking. Not stealing, that's too obvious. Pressure is more subtle than theft. A cousin suddenly has an opportunity. A friend starts joking about you paying the bill every time. Someone begins watching your decisions with this strange microscopic attention, like your money has become public property they're emotionally invested in. It happens slowly. You won't notice it at first. You'll just feel tired more often. And eventually you realize something uncomfortable. The moment people know what you have, they start calculating what they can extract from it. Not always maliciously, sometimes unconsciously, sometimes lovingly, which almost makes it worse. I knew a man in Chicago who sold his company in his early 50s. Overnight, his life changed, not externally, internally. Before the sale, people called to ask how he was doing. After the sale, they called with ideas. Restaurants, real estate, crypto. One guy wanted money for a documentary about consciousness and marine biology. His own brother asked for a temporary loan that quietly turned permanent the second the wire cleared. Within 3 years, the man became paranoid, not because he was greedy, because he couldn't tell who saw him and who saw access. That's the hidden tax nobody talks about, visibility. People think wealth attracts freedom. Sometimes it attracts surveillance. And once the world assigns you a number, everything changes shape around it. A contractor hears you sold a business for 8 figures. Suddenly your kitchen renovation costs triple. You tell friends you're doing well financially. Now every no sounds personal. You skip a destination wedding because you genuinely don't want to go, and somebody quietly decides you're selfish because you can afford it. That's why old money learned something new money almost always ignores. Never let people fully measure you. The moment they can measure you, they can position themselves around you. And humans are experts at positioning. You see it everywhere now, especially online. People announcing goals before they've done anything, posting screenshots of meetings, hinting at projects, talking about big moves coming soon. It feels harmless. It isn't. There's something dangerous about premature applause.
Your brain doesn't fully distinguish between achieving something and being seen as the kind of person who might achieve it. That little burst of validation after telling everyone your plans, it relaxes you. The tension disappears, and tension is fuel. That's why some people talk non-stop about becoming successful for 10 straight years while quietly doing nothing in reality. They already consumed the emotional reward up front. The announcement became the achievement. Meanwhile, the truly dangerous people stay invisible until the result is inevitable. No warning, no motivational thread, no documenting the journey. One day they simply appear with leverage nobody saw building. That kind of silence unsettles people because it removes their ability to prepare psychologically. A loud person gives you time to dismiss them. A quiet person does not. And silence protects more than ambition. It protects your edge. Years ago, I met an investor who found a strange inefficiency in a niche market most people considered boring. He didn't post about it, didn't teach it, didn't build a course around it. He spent 14 years quietly compounding millions from something the internet never discovered because he never fed it to the internet. That restraint made him rich. Today, people discover something valuable and immediately feel the urge to turn it into content. That impulse destroys more fortunes than failure does, because attention is addictive. You can either compound wealth or compound visibility. Very few people manage both for long. The internet has convinced an entire generation that if something isn't visible, it isn't real. But forests don't grow loudly, neither do empires. Look carefully at the people constantly displaying luxury online. Not all of them are broke, obviously, but many are trapped in something worse than being broke: performance. Every purchase becomes a signal. Every vacation becomes evidence. Every success must be documented fast enough to feed an audience whose attention span resets every 12 seconds. That kind of life creates a strange prison where nothing belongs to you privately anymore. Even joy becomes content. And once your identity depends on being perceived as successful, silence starts feeling like death. That's why some of the wealthiest people you'll ever meet look almost disappointingly ordinary. They're not trying to win attention, they're trying to protect peace. There's a difference. Peace has become one of the rarest luxury assets on earth. To wake up without needing to prove anything. To buy something without posting it. To help someone without announcing it. To succeed without performing success for spectators. That's freedom. Real freedom. I think about this whenever I hear someone say they want to become rich. Most people don't actually want wealth. They want relief, status, safety, admiration, revenge, permission to finally feel valuable. Money just becomes the symbol carrying all those emotional burdens, which is why even after people make millions, many still feel hunted internally, because the hunger wasn't financial, it was psychological. And no amount of money fixes an identity built entirely on external confirmation. Once, I heard an old man say something over dinner that stayed with me for years. He said, "The fastest way to discover whether you own your money is to stop showing people you have it." Most people can't do it, not because they're shallow, because invisibility is emotionally difficult. It forces you to seek validation somewhere deeper, internally, quietly, without applause. That's hard, especially now. We live in a world where people announce generosity before the receipt finishes printing. where private wins feel wasted unless strangers react to them, where people film themselves giving food to homeless men like the camera matters more than a meal. And the strange part is, the performance slowly empties the act itself. Once every good deed becomes content, something sacred leaves it. You start feeding on recognition instead of meaning. That appetite never closes. I think that's why genuinely powerful people often feel calm around success instead of excited by it. They stopped needing witnesses. That changes everything. A man who needs applause can be controlled by applause. A man who builds quietly becomes very difficult to manipulate, because his center of gravity exists somewhere the crowd cannot reach. And maybe that's what the real vault is.
Not a bank account, not an investment portfolio, not hidden assets. A psychological structure. A private place inside yourself, untouched by comparison, performance, envy, or public approval. Something stable, something sealed. Because eventually, you realize the loudest people in the room are usually negotiating with their own insecurity in public. And the quiet ones? They're busy building lives too solid to explain. So no, the most dangerous animal in the forest doesn't make noise before it moves. It doesn't need to. The forest already feels it coming.